Money, power, success. Barcelona has it all. No other club is so full of drama and entertainment. They just went from near bankruptcy to winning LaLiga in less than a year. From having no money to spending millions on transfers. From crazy financial stunts to building a massive new billion-dollar stadium. What if we told you that all those crazy stories can be traced back to the same secretive group of men? Elefant Blau. A group that formed decades ago to plot a campaign that would change Barcelona forever. The last 2 decades of Barcelona's history, from the highest highs to the lowest lows, are a result of a complex political battle between these men. Their story is a fascinating case study that illuminates the business of sports. Welcome to Athletic Interest and the Business of Barcelona. Before we break down Barca's current strategy, we need to understand the incredibly rich history of the club. From humble beginnings, Barcelona became one of the world's greatest sporting organizations, thanks to the work of an accountant, a prophet, a farmhouse, and a flea. In 1899, an accountant stopped in eastern Spain. Hans Kamper wasn't supposed to stay there long. He was planning to continue his journey to Africa to set up a sugar trading business. But Kamper fell in love with Barcelona and decided to stay. He found work in a bank and began writing a sports column for the local newspaper. And soon Kamper decided to start a new football club in the town. Kamper placed an advertisement and, after attracting interest from other readers, the first meeting of Football Club Barcelona was held. In the years that followed, Barcelona grew into something more than just a football club, becoming a symbol of Catalan identity. Kamper was the founder, but maybe even more important for the club as we know it today was another man. In 1973, Barcelona signed the best player in the world, Johan Cruyff. The same season he arrived, Cruyff drove Barcelona to a league title, defeating Real Madrid 5-0 along the way. He would stay for 5 years, picking up another trophy and imbricating himself into the club's DNA. But Cruyff transformed Barcelona not once, but twice. In 1988, he returned as a manager and architected a spectacular winning streak that resulted in 4 league titles and the club's first ever European Cup. Inspired by the Dutch total football, he laid the groundwork for generations to follow. As Guardiola later put it, Cruyff built the cathedral. It is our job to maintain it. If Barcelona is indeed a cathedral, much of its beauty comes from local artisans. More than any other team in the past quarter century, Barcelona has benefited from the talent in its academy. La Masia, or the farmhouse, opened its doors in 1979, the year after Cruyff departed for the first time. The building housed junior players and has come to serve as the metonym for Barcelona's youth program. In 2010, La Masia became the first youth academy to have trained all 3 finalists for the Ballon d'Or in a single year. 1 year earlier, the team won the Champions League with 7 homegrown players in the starting 11, managed by Pep Guardiola, another La Masia alumni. It's hard to overstate how insane this is. Barcelona did not just strike oil, they did so again and again. The market value of that Champions League winning team was around 300 million. More than 70% of that came from La Masia players. This brings us to football business lesson number 1. An effective academy can make a significant financial and sporting difference. It saves money on transfers and gives the chance to sculpt the talent according to the club's needs. The best example, LeoMessi. The 2 most followed accounts on Instagram are Cristiano Ronaldo and LeoMessi. And while Ronaldo moved around, going from United to Madrid to Juventus, Messi stayed put for years, wearing a Barcelona shirt week in, week out. And the exposure translated into real revenue. Economists estimated Messi to be worth up to €200 million per year. Before he departed for PSG, 9 out of 10 shirts bought at the Barca stores had his name on the back. Arguably, no player had such an economic impact on a club as Messi on Barcelona. A result of La Masia. The academy was built under the presidency of José Luis Núñez. But ironically, the man who brought him down would profit the most from La Masia. It's the story of Elefant Blau. In early 1997, a small group of lawyers and businessmen gathered for a secret meeting discussing their disdain for Barcelona's president José Luis Núñez. The loudest voice at the table was that of a young lawyer named Joan Laporta. He was upset that Núñez had fired Johan Cruyff and was convinced that he was hiding massive debts. With Laporta as their leader and adopting a blue elephant as their name and symbol, the group began an intense campaign that would change Barcelona forever. To understand how, we need to look into the club's organization first. Barcelona's political power stems in part from its structure, which is different from that of other professional sports teams. Rather than being owned by a wealthy individual or investment company, Barcelona is owned and controlled by 144,000 members, or socios. These members elect Barcelona's president and have a say in the club's constitution. Although becoming a socio is now as simple as filling out an online form and paying around €200 a year, it used to be more difficult, as existing members had to have family connections to join, keeping control within a small, local group. So it's all very political. And this is exactly where Elefant Blau came in. Drawing attention to Barcelona's rising debts and demanding greater transparency from the president, Elefant Blau quickly gathered enough signatures to force a vote of no confidence. It took some time, but the leader of the Elefant Blau revolution eventually became the new president. Laporta went on to revolutionize what it meant to be Barcelona. The members were no longer happy with mere success. They wanted to really be more than a club. The new expectation was that Barcelona acted as a beacon of morality in the increasingly murky world of football. And arguably, they lived up to the expectations. For years, Barcelona was one of the only top clubs without a shirt sponsor. They only gained a name on the shirt after doing a deal with UNICEF in 2006, which saw Barcelona donate $1.5 million to the charity each year. Barcelona also gained the image of a family club. The violent ultras that had controlled the main stands of Camp Nou for years were forcibly removed, an action that would see Laporta's life threatened. Laporta later installed Guardiola, who went on to win 6 trophies in 2009 alone. In many ways, Laporta had delivered on pretty much every promise he made, from the idealistic revolution of Elefant Blau to the cold, hard trophies of his presidency. The on-pitch performance and the style in which the team achieved it grew Barcelona's profile and global following. Between 2003 and 2010, revenue grew from 123 million to 387 million euros, an increase of more than 200%. This growth continued into the next decade, reaching a high in 2019. In the process, Barcelona eclipsed Real Madrid from a revenue generation perspective. No football club made more money than Barcelona. So everything seemed great. But it wasn't. When Laporta came to power, he had the support of 2 businessmen, Sandro Rosell, a former Nike executive, and Josep Bartomeu. Laporta installed both of his friends in key supporting roles. Each day, the trio would read the newspapers cover to cover in order to see which of them was receiving the most praise. With Laporta becoming an almost cult-like figure within wider society, it's said that the other 2 started feeling underappreciated. To make matters worse, Rosell felt that Laporta was ignoring his advice, while Bartomeu was angry at a perceived lack of interest in his basketball department. Just weeks after the title celebrations in 2005, Rosell and Bartomeu both quit. Rosell was transformed from Laporta's trusted friend to his most powerful opponent. He became a constant critique of Laporta's decisions, even writing a book outlining everything that was wrong with the club. The expectations created among the members by Elefant Blau were starting to backfire. The same methods that brought Laporta to power were now used to bring him down. Rosell became the new president, with Bartomeu as his running mate. One of Rosell's first acts was to replace the UNICEF logo on the Barcelona shirt with the Qatar Foundation. The deal earned Barcelona millions, but received criticism from the fans and press. But much more significant for the fate of the club were his transfers, most notably Neymar. Rosell bought Neymar for 86 million euros in 2013. On the face of it, it was a masterstroke. Neymar scored goal after goal as part of a Champions League winning squad before being transferred for a world record fee of 222 million to Paris. But in 2014, the deal brought Rosell down. A Spanish judge opened a case against him for alleged fraud. Barcelona later revealed that they had underreported the true value of Neymar's transfer from Santos. Guess who followed Rosell as president? Josep Bartomeu. And he made sure that the Neymar transfer saga would create even more problems. Instead of spending the 222 million wisely, Barcelona panicked. Their primary target was Dembélé from Borussia Dortmund. As the story goes, Bartomeu and a lieutenant flew to Monte Carlo to negotiate the deal. Before walking into the meeting, the pair set their ceiling price, 80 million euros. By the time they'd left, they had agreed to pay a total of 147 million euros. They then spent another 135 million for Philippe Coutinho from Liverpool, and all the Neymar money plus more was gone, for two players that would not live up to the expectations at all. Contrast that to what Liverpool did with the Coutinho money. They bought Van Dijk, Alisson and Fabinho, the foundation for a team that would go on to win the Champions and Premier League. But back to Barca. Between 2012 and 2022, Barcelona spent 1.7 billion euros on players. On a net basis, Barcelona's recruitment over this period led to a loss of 674 million euros. By comparison, this is the transfer balance of Madrid over the same period. It's our sports business lesson number 2. Transfers can make or break a club. However, the botched transfers weren't the only thing putting pressure on Barca's finances. Salary expectations were escalating, a global pandemic, and no external investments. Barcelona's member-controlled structure cemented it as a club with a social conscience and sincere local identity. But it has also stopped investment. It's not an organization in which you can buy equity. But Barcelona wanted to compete with the likes of Man City and Chelsea, who were thriving on capital from their owners. So Barca began to take on significant debt. Between the summer of 2019 and 2022, Barcelona's debt rose from 217 million to more than 1.3 billion euros, the highest ever reported by a football club. It was reported by no other than Joan Laporta. You heard right. After Bartomeu was hounded out of office by the members because of worsening finances and a lack of trophies, Laporta took over again. So for the past 2 decades, the presidency has been in the hands of men that once came to power because of Elefant Blau. And arguably, they are responsible for the massive debt. To put that into perspective, Barca would have had to sell over 130 million shirts at 100 euros each just to pay off their debt. That's enough shirts to outfit the entire population of Spain 3 times. But Laporta found another way. Despite all the debt, Barca bought players for more than 150 million in the summer of 2022, including one of the best strikers in the world. Players that helped them win LaLiga only 1 year after near bankruptcy. So how did they do it? Instead of consolidating, Laporta went for the high-risk strategy: spend and sell. None of Barcelona's new players could have joined had Laporta not pulled his levers. Over the course of the summer, Laporta has brought in 700 million euros by selling ownership of core assets. He sold a total of 25% of Barcelona's LaLiga broadcasting money for the next 25 years for approximately €500 million, as well as 49% of Barca studios for a total of €200 million. That was very effective, at least in the short term. It's our football business lesson number 3. Broadcasting is the largest revenue driver. Losing out on future earnings is a considerable blow. The club's most valuable assets from a balance sheet standpoint are media rights. Selling 25% dilutes ownership in their most important asset. Barcelona basically sold their family silver. It's a risky strategy, but so far it worked. On top of the levers, Barca signed the biggest sponsorship deal in their history, bringing in more than 400 million euros for Spotify to feature on the club's shirts and to have naming rights to the Camp Nou. And the name is not the only thing that will change at Camp Nou. Barca has just secured another 1.45 billion in loans from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs to rebuild the Camp Nou and the entire surrounding club grounds. With the new stadium, the club wants to generate additional 250 million euros per year, in part to repay the loans. These bold financial moves are just some similarities to Laporta's first term in office. For example, hiring a relatively inexperienced Xavi, just as he installed Guardiola before, both La Masia alumni. Only time will tell if selling part of the family silver in exchange for immediate cash will bear fruit. But it looks like Barcelona is acting with a coherent approach for the first time in a while. There are already plenty of new challenges ahead, from the league's salary cap and the chaos around the stadium rebuild to a full-grown referee scandal. Let's see if our next Barca video will be called The Rise or the Fall of FC Barcelona. Shout out to our friend Mario from The Generalist for letting us adapt his article for a video. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to check out the full written piece via the link in the description.